Hello and welcome everybody to a brand new episode of r/Malicious Compliance. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do though, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button as well as have notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. Do the work exactly how you want it done, even though it's ridiculously wrong. Fine by me. I've been a long-time lurker on this sub, but for once I actually have something worthy enough to post about. Some background before we start. I worked as a drone pilot / mine surveyor for a man-child using drones to take pictures of the mines, creating a 3D model out of those pictures, and then calculating all sorts of goodies for the clients like their gold yield and the amount of the shit they want to have to move. It's really technical and can easily go completely to hell if you don't know what you're doing, and even if you do know what you're doing, it can still very easily go completely to hell. I'm licensed and certified. I've been playing this game for a long time now, and I know how it works most of the time. My ex-boss, on the other hand, did not. See, he got his surveyor's license during the 80s by complete chance. He was a simple miner who just happened to be in the right place at the right time, getting a free university scholarship to become a surveyor because they had few grants left over and called out who wanted it. His hand was one of the ones they picked. The second he got his license, he quit his job and convinced an old retiree surveyor to throw in his retirement, all cards on the table, to start up their own surveying business. He spent the entire time at the golf course and the bar making a fat amount of cash out of his newly founded self-milking cash cow. Not once did he carry out an actual survey. Hell, I doubt he's even stepped foot on a mine since then. He just invoiced the clients, told the retiree where to go, and collected a paycheck. So times move on. Work slowly filters in, and as one does when they reach the ripe old age of 80-something, the retiree decides F this and kicks the bucket. My boss's cash cow just died on him, and no matter how hard he squeezed the teats, the only thing coming out of it now was dust. The only other employee was this other guy who acted as his assistant and basically just carried heavy shit for him. He didn't have a backup, so of course he hired me. I was pretty fresh into the game at this time, starving and basically homeless, and in my eyes, this guardian angel just descended from the heavens and offered me a way out that doesn't involve an ungodly amount of Xanax and a short rope. He basically told me that we have to survey X site and get the data to X client. Didn't tell me what data exactly they want. Hell, didn't even tell me when they needed it by. He just pointed to the place on Google, told me to go there and get it done. Somehow I effing did it. By the skin of my left testy, I scraped by and eventually figured out just what the F to do. At some point, we were kicked off of the mine for reasons my boss didn't disclose to me, and had to open up our own offices. My boss graciously dug deep into his pockets, kicked out his eldest son, and dedicated that room in his house to our use. Now I was spending every day with the man, since if he wasn't at the golf course, he was at home. We started butting heads. He had this illusion in his head of how things worked and how you're supposed to do things, and I had a practical experience and qualifications to tell me otherwise. Every single day was a fight, and every single day he'd tell me how he wanted it to be done, and I'd just turn around and do it the way it's meant to be done. I started passing out my CV like herpes at a frat party. My timing was perfect though, cause a little blip and crash out of the 2020 job economy happened right as I started searching. The interviews I had lined up all got canceled. The people who I already interviewed with and who seemed ecstatic to have me suddenly didn't answer my calls. I felt like a scorned lover, waiting on the curb in the rain, underwear clinging to my butt cheeks and my socks soaking wet. I was considering maybe going back to IT, or even better, prostitution. I could maybe make $1 each, and thanks to a well-used childhood spent chewing gum, I knew I had the jaw muscles for it. I felt hopeless and dejected, dooming to a life of taking care of a disgusting man-child and his fat wallet. Eventually, though, a second angel descended from the heavens, once again saving me from that seductive little noose. I checked her wings for wires and asked her to do an STD check before we carried on, and she checked out. Finally, I could leave this place. I was waiting on the contract, not really willing to commit to anything without it being in writing, when my boss and I got into another massive screaming fight. After hour 3, something inside me snapped.
You want it done your way, buddy? Fine, I'll do it your way.
I committed hard to following his procedure every step of the way. Surveys were taking 3 times longer to do. The drone crashed 4 times, my first ever crash, and all of them were near write-offs. The 3D models stopped looking like mine and started resembling potato chips and Twizzlers. He had clients calling him day and night, non-stop, asking him what the hell he's doing. Eventually, he gave my number to them so they could call me directly, and I started getting calls day and night, non-stop, until I just turned off my phone outside of office hours. Clients were threatening to drop the contracts. Clients were threatening to sue. My contractor came in from my new company, and I signed the dotted line with a smile on my face. One client stopped calling and stopped paying. Word got out, as it always does, that his company is some redneck boo-ha being run out of someone's home. Another client canceled the contract completely and threatened legal action. I handed in my resignation. My boss looked at me pleadingly, offering me a bonkers amount of cash. If cocaine could make you feel half as good as I felt then, sign me up, 'cause I told him to get fucked. He begged me to write him a manual on how to do the work, to show him how to process the data, to fly the pits, to set up the instruments. I spent the last 2 weeks there writing out every procedure he ever told me I needed to follow, sent it through to him, and walked away. A few weeks later, when he was scheduled to do a survey, I was suddenly spammed with calls and emails and messages from him asking me how to do this or how to fly that or where to find this data. His manual wasn't working. Surprise, surprise. I don't know, just read the manual. My new company is currently picking up all the contracts he dropped. If we manage to get the last one, I'm gonna ask him for a bonus. TLDR, Manchild fights with me constantly about how to do the work, even though he's never surveyed a day in his life. After a while, I give in and do it his way, effing the data like the slut she is, and completely collapsing the company. Have the students build it. I am a technology education teacher who always went above and beyond for my school, students, and administrators. I spent countless hours designing and building things for the school, i.e. signs, murals, wall art, games, etc. I didn't really mind because I enjoyed the design challenges that go along with these builds. That was until I received a pink slip. For those of you who are not aware, pink slip basically means that I may be losing my job the following school year. That really pisses me off because I had received great observations, became role models for my students, and put in dozens of unpaid hours to create these projects for the school. I had a meeting with my assistant superintendent who basically told me that she appreciated all of my hard work, but didn't see much value in my program, and with budget cuts coming down the pike, I would most likely be losing my job. Now it needs to be mentioned that tech ed is not the traditional shop classes of the 70s where students would build birdhouses and ashtrays. My curriculum focused primarily on STEM with heavily involved hands-on applications. I related otherwise dry material to awesome projects that all students enjoyed. Kids actually liked their schoolwork, and she knew it. It's also worth noting that both the valedictorian and salutatorian were going to Ivy League colleges to pursue STEM degrees. Needless to say, I was beyond livid. The week following the meeting, my principal asked me if I was interested in building some new games for the cafeteria that the students could play when they finished eating. Easy table games like mini knock hockey, checkerboards, etc. to alleviate students from getting out of control. I explained that I could not complete the project, and that was that. Until the assistant superintendent caught me in the hallway and told me, just have the students build it. So that's exactly what I did. I tasked my laziest and most unqualified students for a special project, the result of which was glorious. Checkerboards that didn't have squares, knock hockey boards with splinters and uneven goals, laser engraved puzzles that didn't fit together. I thanked the students and asked their assistant superintendent to come on down to my lab because the students' projects were done and they were excited to show them off. In she walks, and upon seeing the projects, looks me dead in the eye. She now has a decision to make. 1, ask me what the hell happened, or 2, tell the students to their faces what a great job they did. She opted for choice 2, going on and on about how great everything looks and how proud she was of the students, while I had the biggest smile on my face knowing how crappy they turned out. I thanked her for suggesting to have the students build it, as she left with essentially a pile of scrap wood. The projects never made it to the cafeteria. I resigned from that school and took a job that paid $12,000 more at a place where I was valued. They ended up keeping the position and begged me to stay on board. I realized resigning was my best option because I could get an early jump on all the new openings as opposed to being let go at the end of the summer, which would have me with the worst schools that couldn't find a teacher. I have to share. You sure? English class. Not so kind word teacher. First period. On a day, I'm already barely holding life together and have already cried twice. For some context, I'm normally a very proactive sharer. As top of my class, I believe in all working together and sharing to learn more. Furthermore, I did not have a great childhood at all. Lots of garbage stuff has happened, which I don't really want to go into. I digress. Our new assignment is to make a Where I'm From poem, the original by George Ella Lyon. Go ahead, look it up. As a brainstorming activity for this assignment, we were going around the room multiple times talking about happy things that we remember and want to write about in our poems. When she would get to me, I said I didn't want to share, and that was respected for 3 rounds. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to get away with this uncomfortable avoidance, and finally my teacher was insistent I shared. Despite many protests, I was told I must share, and seeing as my morning has been rough, I wasn't in the mood to make stuff up. Yeah, I could probably write about the abusive daycare for things I used to look forward to. Oh, and phrases our parents repeated a lot. I could probably talk about all the arguing and throwing stuff, and fuck yous that were tossed around. All of my memories from recess. I'm sure it would be great to know about how I used to go cry with a coloring book behind the big oak tree on the far side of the playground in elementary school. The whole class went silent. Not a word. And that's when I knew I won. My teacher's response was, "Well, I think now's a good time for a mask break." I have since been told I could have an alternate assignment if I wanted, but I've declined. I think this might be a good therapeutic activity, and making her uncomfortable is an added bonus. Clarifications. My parents were not abusive to me, but rather I have gone through several divorces on both sides, so there was an awful lot of grown-up fighting. I did share the nasty parts of my childhood willingly. Yes, I could have made something up, but frankly, I'm not one to give in when I see wrongdoing. I've accepted my past and learned to grow from it, and I know that there are other people like me who have not. It's for them that I did this. To some of the haters, I am not the one who makes this my lifestyle. I'm not someone who's let this take control of my life. I've had my downs, but I've also had my ups, and that's where I'm going. I've been grateful for the tough times, but at the same time, we all have those touchy days, and even the best of us can barely hold it together sometimes. TLDR was forced to share childhood memories, despite stating multiple times that I was uncomfortable doing so. In return, I made the whole class, especially the teacher, very uncomfortable with a short, small list of my medium sad memories. Important note. Some individuals seem to be mistaking the purpose of this post. This post is merely to show people that it's okay to take a stand. This post is to remind people that we are not alone. This post is to bring a smile to those who have been through something like this and regretted not doing something about it. This post is to make a difference in someone's life, no matter how small. This post is not to say I have it worse than anyone else. With that said, none of you know my story. What I've listed is the beginning of the tale. Downplaying my story is downplaying every single story out there. There are millions of people like me. If that's not you, that's okay. If you think I'm being petty, okay. We have a difference of opinions, but from what I sense, many individuals stand with my action. I'm not doing this for sympathy. I'm not doing this for attention. I'm happy with my life. I'm not happy with disrespect. That is the theme of this post. An overwhelming amount of people want to know what a mask break is. Basically, as we're mandated to wear them all day, which most people despise, our teachers can bring us outside so we can socially distance, 14 apart minimum, to take them off for a couple of minutes. My district hasn't had a single case yet, and all guidelines are being followed to the letter. And there you have it, folks, the end of the epics. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like on it, as well as subscribe with notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.